I hired an intern to help me with my reselling business. I'm going to tell you how and share all of my tips. What's up, mamas? I'm Rebecca. You're watching the Reseller Mom Show. Consider subscribing to get more done, make more money, and stay sane while raising kids and reselling online. Up next, we've got a great video for you. Well, let's start with a little bit of story time. I have always wanted to have an intern for my reselling business. I feel like an intern is a great way to get cost-effective labor, of course, but also satisfy a need to give back and pay it forward and be a mentor to someone in a very lonely business. And so I don't always feel like my business is, I got notifications. I don't always feel lonely in my business, but I do always feel the need to like give back and mentor someone and share and show what I've learned, you know, in my career before being a stay-at-home mom and then now as an entrepreneur. And so, you know, I had great mentors in my early career days, and I've always felt the need to kind of offer that to someone else. And so that's why I'm always drawn to interns. And it's only until recently, and I'm going to share with you how and all my tips, but it's only until recently that I was able to actually successfully get an intern. I tried a while back, and the intern that I had interviewed and then hired ended up not fulfilling the internship because her parents, we've got some yard work out there, her parents told her that I wasn't a real business and that it wouldn't be best for her career to go with a small business for somebody that just works out of her house. And like, I get that, I understand that, but I do feel like with this time around that I have successfully hired an intern, she is working for me, that I've put a lot of things in place to really fulfill an internship program. I'm gonna share those tips with you, so stay tuned. So the story time with this intern is that I actually went on a website to hire some help for some house tasks, and it was care.com, and hopefully at some point I can be an affiliate for care.com because I really enjoyed using their site and it successfully helped me do a couple of things, but haven't figured that out yet. So I went on care.com and I listed that I needed like a personal assistant, and this person was gonna come to my home and help me with some house tasks that I just didn't want to do and that I wanted to use that time to spend with Gio or to do things for my business. And so I had the person come to help fold and sort laundry, to chop up some stuff in the kitchen, to put groceries away, to just do random house things. And I know that may sound silly, and we can talk about that another time because this video is about the intern. But it turns out that the girl that I hired to do that job ended up somehow talking with me about how she's in college and whatever, and we got to talking about an internship. And I said, well, if you want to try, we can treat that as a separate thing, and you can come and do these house tasks for me and I'll pay you the hourly rate that we set, but then we can also set up an internship. Let me put some thoughts together and I'll get back to you. So I put some thoughts together on what I would want the person to do and how I would treat the internship and, you know, all the things that I'm going to share with you. And she was like, cool, that sounds great. So we set up an internship. And so I wasn't looking for one. It just kind of happened by accident in this particular situation. But now that I have her and I've started the process and I've put the time and effort into thinking about my internship program, I will like to continue to do this again for other interns in the future. So I'm kind of formulating all of it with the intent of carrying it forward after her. And I'm going to share with you these tips that I put together in creating this for her, and then I'll be able to use it going forward as well for other interns. So the first tip, and I'm going to have to look at my notes, so let's just deal. But the first tip is to create a thoughtful plan. And that's what I just mentioned that I did. So when we decided the idea of having an internship, I really put some thought into what tasks specifically would I have an intern help with. This isn't a paid hourly person, and we'll get into like payment and all that a little later, but this isn't a paid hourly person. This isn't an assistant. This isn't a pay per item, you know, worker like my photographer is or like my lister is. This isn't a virtual assistant. This is a completely different thing. A college student looking to gain experience for their future career and something that they're going to use to build their resume. And so I wanted to specifically provide tasks that I do need help with. I mean, I'm not just coming up with things to have them do for the sake of it, but I wanted to put tasks together that would benefit me and my business, but would also benefit them in kind of creating a resume and showing internship skills that they gained. So for me, I thought about, what actual tasks are they going to do for me? And I lined that out. And then I also thought about parameters of the internship in general, like how are they going to work for me? How is that actually going to happen? There's a lot of individual things that go into a reselling business. And so how are they actually going to work for me? Am I going to give her my passwords? Is she going to work at the house with me? Is she going to work outside of the house and do errand things? Is she going to have access to my accounts? Is she going to work from home? How is that going to work? So the how and the where. Also the time component. Do I have time to onboard someone and bring them into the business? Do I have time to train her? Do I have time to spend with her to feel like she's getting some sort of like mentorship component? We'll talk about that in a minute. Do I have time to explain all of these things to a college student? Do I have time to like manage this internship? And that's something you need to ask yourself. That's something you need to ask yourself when you're hiring anybody. And I've done separate videos on hiring a virtual assistant. I have a whole series on that, and how to hire a photographer. I have a video on that. So check those out. If I can do the card thing, I'll do that. I'm doing this to remember to do the cards. So, you can check all of that out, and if that's more the route that you need to go in. But if you're looking for an internship, it's a little bit different, a little bit more specific. So, the management of it. And then the other thing is, can you and will you and do you want to communicate with a college student? And so, it's different. It's different than somebody you've hired to pay per item to do your photography. It's different than communicating with someone you've paid to do your listing virtually or sharing your closet virtually. Like, it's a different type of thing. So you have to take that into consideration, I think, to be a responsible internship employer, whatever. I think you need to think about that. So that's the thinking. Create a thoughtful plan. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2, I should do separate takes, but I'm not going to. Tip number 2 is give and take. So for me, what deliverables am I giving to them? What are they going to get out of the internship? And then what required projects do I have them requiring me, as a requirement for me? What are they giving to my business? What am I giving to them as the intern? And there's a lot of components to that. Are you going to give them mentorship time? Are you going to give them the paperwork? You're going to fill out the paperwork they need for the internship. You better. That's a deliverable to them. Are you going to help them with their LinkedIn profile? Are you going to help them build their resume and a cover letter? These are all the things that I lined out specifically when I created the internship program for the girl that I have now. And I said, I'm going to help you do your resume. I'm going to help you create a cover letter that you can adapt for future jobs. We can do a half an hour to an hour of mentoring, or whatever you want to talk about, whatever questions you have. That's your time to talk with me as your mentor as part of the internship program. LinkedIn, resume, cover letter. There's like 1 or 2 other things on that list. So those are the things that I'm telling her I'm going to give to you as part of the internship. And then I told her, these are the things that I want you to do for me. You're going to help me create a sourcing position. So she's actually going to be my test guinea pig on how to create a position for someone to source for me. And so we're working on that. We'll talk about that later. So she's going to be totally responsible for that. That's going to be her project. There's another project that I don't know if we're going to get to. So we'll see about that. But I tried to give 2 projects that are going to be completely hers, that if they get done, like, that would be great and a bonus to my business, but it's not something in the day-to-day that I must have done, to where if she doesn't do it for some reason, now I'm going to be totally all messed up. So those are 2 nice bonus projects that will help my business that are kind of like superfluous. Then she's going to have a number of random tasks that are required that are going to help my business. Things that I'm doing now that she's going to do that now free me up not to do them. And most of that is pertaining to social media. I think social media is a great way to get an intern involved. We feel like, oh, those young ones, they know how to do all this stuff, and maybe they do and maybe they don't, but it's easy bite-sized tasks. Like, I can tell her, these are the kinds of posts I want you to create. These are the kinds of posts I want you to find. This is how I want you to load it into my Instagram scheduler. This is how I want you to research hashtags. And so it's replicable, doing it over and over again, repeatable, whatever. She can replicate that task over and over again without me having to oversee her work. So I've now duplicated myself. So I can do my work. I've already showed her and spent the time on how to do these couple of tasks related to social media. Now she's going to do them autonomously on her own. Can't speak today. And so having that give and take of things that I'm requiring from her, but things that I'm giving to her, I think is something you should think about if you're going to hire an intern. Tip number 3 is to be clear and upfront about the work schedule and about the location. And I'm referring to my notes over here. So I told her initially, I need you to do 12 to 16 hours a week. That is what the internship requires. If you were going to Coca-Cola or you were going to CNN or you were going to wherever to do an internship, there would be requirements. And when I oversaw the interns at a nonprofit that I worked for, we had requirements. And so they had to work at least 12 to 16 hours during the work week. And so that's the kind of baseline schedule that I set for her. You can set whatever schedule you want with them, but for me, I felt like 12 to 16 hours is a manageable, between 2 and 4 days of either full days or half days of work that gives them a meaningful experience and gives you a meaningful amount of work to invest the time in for. So we said 12 to 16 hours. We said that some of the time is going to be at headquarters, so that's my house. And then some of those hours are going to be on a field trip, which usually is going to be related to thrifting or some other business type errand. And then part of it is going to be remote, where she gets to work at her home. And obviously that's not something that you usually find in an internship at a regular place, but due to the nature of my job and that I work from home, I can't always have her here. So, she's going to be with me. Usually right now we're doing like Mondays and Tuesdays. She's with me here. And then Wednesdays she's at home. And then Thursdays is usually like our out and about day. So we're going thrifting together, or I'm sending her thrifting on her own, or I may send her to go to the consignment store and sell back items. So there's a number of different errands and things. And so coming up with that kind of framework of a schedule, number of hours, where this person is going to work, gives them a level of understanding and also just creates a level of professionalism around something that could be seen as not professional. And I think that was initially where I went wrong when I tried to hire those interns in the beginning, because I didn't have any of this put together. And I think that mom, rightly so, felt like you're just going to go to some lady's house and she's going to make you do free work for her business. And I learned from that lesson, and now this internship is like way cooler and way better, and I love it, and I'm so excited, and I'm so happy for the girl that is my intern, because I do think she's getting a lot out of it, and I'm getting a lot out of it, and so far it's going really well. Okay, next tip. Well, tip number 4, 1, 2, 3, yes, 4. Counting. 4 is to balance the grunt work with projects that they can own and work on independently. So they're interns. They need to work their way up. They need to pay their dues, yada, yada. So you're going to give them grunt work. You're going to give them stuff that you don't want to do. I don't want to sit there and do certain mundane tasks. Sometimes I like doing mundane. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I like to turn my brain off and do some mundane tasks. But sometimes I don't. And most of the time I don't have time for it. So like I do, if you follow me on Instagram, I do a theme song of the day on Mondays. It's not like anything earth-shattering, but I like doing it. I like thinking of a song. I like coming up with songs that I want to put out there. I like sharing with you the kind of music that I listen to, and maybe expose you to a new song, or just be like, I haven't heard that song in a long time. Maybe it inspires you to go listen to that. Like, music is fun, and we work from home and can listen to music whenever we want, as loud as we want. And so, music is a big part of my reselling business and my mood in my reselling business. And so I like having this go out on Mondays to say, this is my theme song of the day. However, I don't have time to necessarily make the cute post and load it into my scheduling software. And yes, I use a scheduling thing for my Instagram. Don't judge me. It is what it is. Mom life is crazy. But so I'm having her do that. So I've, pre-approved a list of songs that I want. And I also had her, because I want her to be a part of it, I had her research some songs. Some of them were very interesting. Just saying. Had her find some songs for me, and then I pre-approved them, like, yes, this is a song we can include. No, we're not going to include that song. And for the ones that were pre-approved, I showed her how to use the app that I create my graphics with. And this, I use a few apps, and this one particularly, it was the Over app. And so now she's getting skills on, just general Instagram, what somebody's doing, the kinds of things, the hashtags I'm using. Now she knows how to create graphics in Over. So that was a skill she didn't have before. Not that she couldn't have figured it out, but it's something she could put on her resume. And so now she's creating the graphics for me and jamming those out. And then she's also creating the caption, because I do put a similar caption every time. So she's preloading that into my scheduler. And then she's loading the hashtags, because I use similar hashtags. So that's a huge time saver, because she's going to prep all those out in advance, and they're going to be loaded in for me, and I don't have to do any of that. And that's grunt work. It's giving her some skills, but it's a stupid task. Like, once you figure it out once or twice, it's not rocket science to do it over and over again. So that's some grunt work for her. Also, like, going thrifting and stuff, like, the actual thrifting is not something that she needs for her resume. That's not going to help her be a professional out in the world. But it's grunt work that I need her to do as part of the internship with my company. And so I balance that with projects that she can own and work on independently. And one of those is the sourcing position. So she's basically in charge of looking for brands and creating training materials and figuring out, if you're a new person coming into my business and I want to hire you to go source items for me, what does that person need to know? How does that person need to know it? What does that job description look like? And we're still like working through, but like how I'm gonna pay this person, because there's a number of models I have in my head and we haven't quite figured out like what's not gonna cost me $1 million, but is also gonna make a meaningful wage to the person doing it. And so we're working through that. And that's stuff that I would like to do. I don't always have time to do it. And so it's just one of those things that you don't get done. But now that I have her and she can totally own that project, she's getting a real kick out of making this position, and it's going to have a lasting effect on my company, and she's going to have a hand in that. And those are great skills for her to add to her resume, on top of all the other social media things that she's doing, on top of a couple of other smaller projects. Like that one's a bigger one. Like I'm going to have her help me make some keyword, like a keyword manual, I guess, so that way I can share it with a photographer, or share it with my virtual assistant or whatever. Maybe I'll share it with you at some point. We'll see how far we get with it. But, kind of making a keyword reference manual. And so that's another project that she's going to kind of, as long as we have time for, help oversee. So if you can come up with a few projects that you can completely hand off to that intern, and then also the grunt work, I think that will give you both a balance of short-term and long-term projects, grunt work, and projects that he or she can own, and it just makes everybody happy. The fifth tip is to offer them mentor time, and I mentioned this earlier. Now I'll just go over it more briefly. They are college students. They're looking to get into the working world. They need experience, they need guidance, and they may have questions. They may want to know about your take on things, about the industry you're in, about doing things online, about being an entrepreneur. They have questions, they have concerns, they have thoughts, and they need to discuss it with someone. And I think that that's part of an internship. I think that's part of a person's role that you take on when you say you want to be a mentor to someone. And I had that. I had really great people early on in my jobs that let me pick their brain just for the sake of it. And I got to learn what they thought about things, and not just do this, do this, do this, I'm your boss, you just do it. But we talked about stuff, and that was so meaningful to me as a young, ambitious person that wanted to like take over the world. So, I went to college for sociology and communications, which is like weird and random and qualifies you, I always say, for like anything or nothing. But I got early on into the events line industry, whatever. And so I planned events for my university, and then I worked for CNN, and, I got to do all this cool stuff and I had people around me that showed me how it was cool and why it was cool and how important it was, and just lessons around the work that I was doing that made it more impactful to me and gave me confidence. And so if I can give that to someone in a different way, of course, that would make me feel really good. So, you know, for the girl that's interning for me now, we've already had a couple mentoring discussions, and obviously you can't give away all your time. That's not what this is about, but you do want to give them a piece of you. And whether that's a half an hour a week, whether it's an hour a week, maybe depending on how much time they're giving to you in your business. Maybe it varies from week to week depending on what you have going on. But you know, we usually do it when we're on the road and in the car, and she's asked me a ton of questions. You know, she says that she's, you know, a little introverted, and what types of jobs would be good for someone that's maybe a little introverted, or what types of skills can she work on to help make her not so introverted. And we talked about that, and I think that's a really great question for her to be asking, and I'm happy and blessed that she asked it to me and that she cared about my opinion and what I thought and how to guide her. So I take it very seriously. I enjoy it. And if you're someone that would enjoy that, I highly encourage you to get an intern and have that conversation with someone, because you never know how you can impact someone at the very early stages of their career that could shape what they do for years to come. And I just think that's awesome. So the next tip, I don't know what number I'm on, is to let them listen and watch and sit in on any meetings, any phone calls that you have, because that's really important. And I'm just like, yeah, or demonstrate. So like, that's important because not only are you having them do things that they can add to their resume, tasks that they can do, skills that they can make, whatever, you're also demonstrating like how you should act in a professional environment, how you should carry yourself, what you should say, the types of language that you use, the way that you respond, all of that stuff. And while a reselling industry, you know, we're just kind of going rogue here. You know, I'm in yoga pants, I talk the way I want, I do things when I want. It's not so professional all the time. But I think when it matters most, because I had a professional career before, I carry myself with professionalism. And so when I'm having a business meeting, when I'm having a phone call, when I'm, you know, dealing with a bank or dealing with the CPA, I bring professional Rebecca. I don't bring yoga pants reseller mom Rebecca. So, you know, if you can expose your intern to those elements as much as you can when appropriate, I think that would be really beneficial to them, because obviously I have spoken with my interns. They're like, listen, our dress code is not business casual. Our dress code is casual, you know, and that's fine. Why am I going to make her come to my house in a business suit or in, you know, pants and a blouse when I'm in yoga pants, because that's what my life is like? That wouldn't make sense. But when we go out and have a meeting, we're going to dress like that. When I have a phone call and she listens in on it, I'm not talking even like how I talk to you now in my like mom whatever voice. I'm talking in my professional Rebecca voice, and, you know, showing her that example and explaining to her why and how and what all goes involved in that conversation. So if you can bring that level of professionalism where it applies, maybe you don't have that part of your business, maybe you're not like we just went to a meeting with the photographer. We have a quarterly meeting to go over improvements and feedback and questions and comments and concerns. We go out for breakfast, and I brought our intern and she got to witness that meeting. Now again, that meeting is a very informal one. I've been working with this woman for 2 years. So, you know, that wasn't necessarily the most professional meeting if I was meeting with like a potential supplier or something like that, but there was still professional topics being discussed, negotiations taking place on some new things that we're trying to do, ideas being brainstormed, and I had her take notes, and that was good practice for her. So, you know, there's different levels of what you can do within your business, but having those examples for your intern, I think, would be very helpful. Tip number 7 is to pay them a stipend. They are not totally free labor. Now, there are some internships and some internship programs from the colleges that require that they get paid. There are some that may be required that they don't get paid. I don't know, but I feel like the colleges here in our area, they actually require them to be paid, because when I worked for the nonprofit and we wanted interns, we didn't want to pay them. We were a nonprofit, but the interns that were coming from a certain college, that college required for their internship to count that they got paid something. And so we came up with a very small, because we were a nonprofit, small stipend that we paid for them upon the completion of a successful internship period, which is usually, the semester. So when we hired interns, we told them, all the parameters, blah, 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 hired them, everything, but they got paid a stipend at the end of the semester that they had successfully completed the semester's internship, and then they got a stipend via check at the end. And so that's what I've set up for this internship is I cannot pay you hourly, I cannot pay you a lot, but I can pay you a stipend so that it would fulfill any payment requirement of your school, and also to financially thank you for your time. But this is about experience, and this is about learning from someone else. It's about you getting skills. It's about you getting mentoring and all of those other things that I'm going to give to you in the deliverables that I promised. And then the stipend is just a little bit on top of that. So I will share the stipend that I'm giving this intern. And what we talked about is so initially, okay, this is going to take a second. So initially we talked about, and what I would prefer is a 2-semester commitment, because I feel like by the time I train you on how to do everything, I want more than 2 or 3 months out of you. That's my preference. That's what I did at the nonprofit. That's what I would like to see. So we talked about a summer-fall internship commitment. She was going to intern over the summer and over the fall. And for that, I was going to pay her a stipend of $250 at the end of each semester. So $250 for summer, $250 for fall, if she did both. If she only did one semester, I was only going to pay her a stipend of $200. So I was basically giving her a financial commitment and a financial incentive to do a double term with me. And so initially she agreed to do a double term with me. And so I was going to pay her $250 for summer, $250 for fall. Then she ended up saying that she might be getting a job in the fall, and obviously I want her to get a job. And so she said she's just going to do the summer. So I said, that's going to change your stipend because it's not the 2-term commitment. And she understood. So then, and I told her all of this up front, and I think that's why it's good to have a thoughtful plan, tip number 1, so that you can refer back to all of these things and it's all very professional. But so now she's just going to do the summer, and it's going to be $200. I'll give it to her at the end of the semester, which is like the end of August, and $200 for 12 to 16 hours for like a good solid 6 to 8 week period, I think is pretty good. So I don't know what that works out to be per hour. I don't even want to know. But I think that's a great investment. It's something I'm comfortable with, and she has proven herself to be very helpful, and I think it's well worth it. So obviously you can decide what works best for you, but that's what I'm doing. Tip number 8 is to make sure that they are helping you be more productive and not less productive. So I've talked a lot about the things in the previous tips that you need to do for them, that you need to do in general to make it a program, to make it something that's substantial, that they get something out of it. And so a lot of it has been intern focused. And now I'm telling you to make sure that you focus on your business as well, and make sure that all the time and effort you're putting into training this person and to having mentorship conversations and whatever is in the end going to benefit you more. Not necessarily more than them, but just more in general than the time you're putting in. So it's okay if you both benefit equally. But I think that if this person that you hire as an intern is not going to help you time and a half or double your time, you should not have an intern. And so it's going to ebb and flow, but you need to look at it overall. Maybe start with one intern and see how it goes and decide if you're going to continue further. I feel like at this point, the particular tasks I'm having this intern do for me is I can show you it once and you can replicate that task over and over again in a variety of ways with variations, so that you can now pretty much work autonomously most of your time, and therefore I'm getting my time back. It's not like every day that she comes to work for me, I'm having to put in hours of time with her. So I think that if you can come up with tasks that are meaningful to your business and to you and helpful, making you more productive, that you don't have to oversee every little minutia with that person, that's where it's going to benefit you. So, for us, she's helping with a lot of these social media things, and she's going to help with these 2 extra projects that I would just have not really gotten to otherwise. And that's allowing me to have time with her, get her started, go over what she's doing, answer any questions, but then we work independently. So when she comes to headquarters on Mondays and Tuesdays, I'm in here recording, I'm in here taking photos, I'm doing things for my business, and she's doing her tasks. We come together, we go apart, we come together, we go apart, but for the most part, she's working on her projects autonomously. We did a lot of thrifting together, and so that was not double time, but now we're getting ready to have her go thrifting on her own so that she can test out this sourcing position that she's working on, and she's going to go out this week twice, once to the bins and once to Goodwill Retail, on her own without me there. And she is going to send me some pictures of the items that she thinks she wants to buy, just so that I don't have her wasting my money in doing these things. And once we get this sourcing position ready and done, I'm definitely going to share with that. Don't you worry, I'm going to share that with you, but it's just nowhere near ready yet. So she's going to go out on her own, and it's going to be kind of measured, because then she's going to report back to me before she buys anything what she wants to buy, and then I'll tell her if it's okay or not to purchase. And then after that, then she'll do it on her completely own. And so I'm really excited for when that happens. And she's excited. She said she was nervous, but excited to go on her own. And that's the kind of thing that, unless you give them that ability, they're never going to have that feeling. If you just say, you just do what I tell you to do and you stay right here by my side, you're never going to give them that opportunity to shine on their own. And I think she's looking forward to that. I think that's going to give her some confidence. I think that's going to help her apply this very specific thing that she's doing for me for a reselling business. She'll have that process and have that feeling that she did here. She can use it in her next thing. And it might be a completely different job and a completely different setup, but she'll have gone through that mental and emotional process of being trusted with a task to go and do, trying to do your best, not let the person down, really thinking about it before you ask a question. All of these things, it's so hard to teach someone unless you make them do it. And I think she's gonna get, I don't know, I could just be in la la land over here, but I think that she's gonna get those skills from the jobs that I've given her and the tasks that I've given her, and that is cool. So enough of my nonsense. Let's go over a couple quick bonus tips, and then I'll let you go. I hope this is helpful. Let me know in the comments below if this is making you think of getting an intern. Maybe you hadn't thought of it before. Have you had an intern before? Do you have any intern tips? I want to hear them all. Leave them in the comments for me. And if you kind of think this video is somewhat helpful, give me a like. That would be nice too. So the bonus tip that I have is give your intern an email address. I have 1,005,000, 100 bajillion, that's exact, email addresses from Gmail. I don't even know how many email addresses. I make one up for everything. And I like it because it keeps things separate. And so I made an intern and then the thing that I usually do at gmail.com. And so that's her email. Now it's not going to be her forever, because when she's not my intern anymore, I'm going to change the password and it's going to be another intern's email address. But at the nonprofit, we had intern 1, intern 2, because we had 4 or 5 interns at the same time at the website.com or .org. And now for her, she'll have intern.myinformation@gmail.com. And it's free to make a Gmail address, but it gives them something that it's their own. She feels very official that she has one. She was excited to write down the password. Think about it from their perspective. They've never had a business email before. They don't know. Give them an email. It's free. Make them feel like they're part of the company, part of the process, part of everything. So bonus tip, give them an email from Gmail. It's free. Hold them accountable is my next bonus tip. So the first day of her internship, she called out sick. And I was not happy with that, because I'm like, oh, here we go, flaky flake. This is never going to work. This is no good. I shouldn't have put all this time and effort into thinking about all these tasks. She's going to totally flake on me. This is nonsense. Well, it turns out that she didn't flake on me since then, and she's done great, and it was just one of those things that happens, which does happen. So she ate something bad, she didn't feel good, she didn't want to come to my house if her stomach wasn't feeling good. Like, I get that, thank you so much. So, but I did hold her accountable, and I said, listen, like, before we move any further, this is important to me. This is my business. I also put a lot of time and effort into thinking of tasks for you to do, creating this internship program, talking about it with you. Like, please don't waste my time. I'm not mad, but I am concerned that it was your first day and you called out sick. Like, that doesn't leave me with a good taste in my mouth about our current situation. And, you know, I've never been a good HR person. Probably if there was HR here, that would be no good. I say what's on my mind. I say it with good intentions and with love in my heart, but I say things that I probably shouldn't say. But I think that she took that and kind of internalized it. I do. And she hasn't called out sick since then. She's let me know if there's anything that's going to affect our schedule, which I've told her is flexible. So, you know, life is life, and I get it. And so we have a couple things that we've rearranged, part for me, part for her, but I held her accountable right from the get-go. And I've talked about this a little bit, you know, when my virtual assistant series, like, you need to nip these things in the bud at the beginning. Maybe it's not your normal deal to be a manager or to be accountable for these people or whatever, but you need to get some of that going in you. You need to be like, listen, I can't just have people running amok all over the place, especially an intern. Like, this is a bonus thing. This is not required. And so, you know, if I'm going to do all these things for you that I said I was going to do, I need you to be accountable back with me. And I'm going to hold, you know, you accountable. Because if you went to Coca-Cola or CNN, I keep you away, Walmart or wherever you're going to get an internship, I don't know, like a law office, whatever, like, they would do that because it's a real job. And just because I work from my home and sell things on the internet doesn't mean that this isn't a real internship. And you need to learn that accountability, whether it's for me or for your future employer that's in a real office somewhere. Like, I'm not doing you any favors by not holding you accountable and not addressing the situation. So do that for them. The next bonus tip is to treat this, this is what I wrote down, treat this internship as professional, as a real one. And so that's what I wrote. So, you know, and this goes hand in hand with keeping them accountable. You know, if you have had an internship, if you have been involved with anything before, you'll know kind of what goes into it. If you haven't, if you don't, I don't know, you got to kind of think about it. But if you were in a real job, how would you act as a boss to an intern? If you were in a real job, how would you act to your subordinate? You're the boss. So yes, you can speak informally. Yes, you can dress in yoga pants. Yes, you can go thrifting with this person, but it's still an internship, and you're not doing them any favors by not treating it like a real one, and having a schedule and having accountability and expecting them to conduct themselves well and expecting them to take the task seriously and expecting them to, you know, act in a professional manner as far as, like, if you do have independent, like if she's working over here and you're working over here, yes, it's not separate offices, but she should still be addressing you in a way that makes her get the feel of what it's going to be like when she does have to go and address people in offices. And so I don't know all the ways to explain it because every situation is different, but whatever you can do to add a level of professionalism and make everything feel like it's a real internship, I suggest that you do it because it's going to help you create some boundaries. It's going to help her or him understand what that's all about, and that will help them when they then do go into a real traditional office job. That's it. That's all I've got. I've got this intern. She's doing fantastic. I'm so happy that I still have her for almost another 2 full months, July and August. I think we're going to get a lot of work done. I think she's going to get a lot out of it. I think I'm going to get a lot out of it. And I would encourage you to not necessarily do it if it's not for you, but think about it. Think about if this is something that would help you and your business and maybe a college student in your area. Maybe it's even someone you know, maybe someone you know's kid or whatever, but give it a shot, give it a try. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I would really love to hear your feedback. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.